Jarrod Schulz's story is often told like a dramatic before and after transformation, but the reality is far more tangled. On television, especially through the lens of reality shows centered on auctions and competition, he appeared as a man who had escaped his past and built something new. Yet beneath the surface, his life carried echoes of earlier mistakes, unresolved patterns, and pressures that never fully disappeared. What makes his journey compelling is not just fame or downfall, but the way both often coexist in the same person at the same time. Long before television cameras followed him through storage units and bidding wars, he was already navigating consequences that would shape his adulthood. The contrast between public success and private instability became more visible over time, especially as relationships, businesses, and personal choices collided. His trajectory shows how redemption narratives are rarely linear and how easily they can fracture when unresolved habits resurface under stress. By the time the world knew him as a television personality, much of his foundation had already been tested repeatedly. His story is not just about what he achieved, but about what kept resurfacing despite those achievements, gradually reshaping how his life unfolded in the years that followed. Troubled beginnings and the weight of early choices. Before fame ever entered the picture, Jarrod Schulz's early adulthood was marked by instability and poor decisions that carried serious consequences. In the late 1990s, he found himself entangled in legal trouble involving controlled substances, including methamphetamine, which led to his arrest in January 1997. What initially seemed like a situation that might be resolved with leniency quickly escalated when he reoffended shortly after his release. The second incident involved driving under the influence and possession of a larger quantity of drugs, signaling to the court that a pattern was forming rather than a one-time lapse in judgment. His sentencing shifted dramatically as a result, moving from a short jail term with probation to a 16-month state prison sentence. That change exposed him to a far more severe environment than local detention, placing him among individuals convicted of serious violent offenses. For a young man in his early 20s, the experience served as both punishment and confrontation with reality. It forced him to confront the possibility that his life could continue down a path of incarceration if nothing changed. While the experience left a lasting impression and motivated him to avoid returning, it also left emotional and behavioral imprints that would later resurface under pressure, time in prison, and the struggle to rebuild identity. The period Jarrod Schulz spent in state prison became a turning point that reshaped his outlook, though not in a perfectly linear way. Unlike short-term detention, the extended sentence placed him in an environment where survival, awareness, and self-reflection became unavoidable. Being surrounded by individuals with long-term or violent convictions created a stark contrast between who he was and who he might become if he continued making destructive choices. This realization reportedly pushed him to reassess his direction and consider what life outside those walls might look like if he managed to change. However, prison does not erase behavioral conditioning, it often reshapes it. While he left with a desire to avoid returning, he also carried habits shaped by stress, confrontation, and limited coping mechanisms. These internal conflicts would not vanish upon release. Instead, they would surface gradually in different environments, especially when life became more demanding. Even after regaining freedom, the stigma of a felony record followed him, limiting opportunities and influencing how others perceived him. This combination of motivation and limitation created a complicated foundation for rebuilding his life, one where progress was possible, but never entirely free from the weight of his past. Meeting Brandi Passante and the illusion of stability. A major shift in Jarrod Schulz's life came when he met Brandi Passante, a relationship that would define both his personal and professional journey for nearly 2 decades. At the time, he was working in relatively modest roles, including sales management in a carpet cleaning business, attempting to build stability after his earlier setbacks. Brandi entered his life without the judgment that often followed his criminal record, instead seeing potential where others saw risk. Their relationship developed quickly, and soon they built a family together, welcoming 2 children over the following years. This period gave Jarrod a sense of grounding that contrasted sharply with his earlier instability. Brandi became not only a partner, but also a stabilizing force, helping him maintain focus and responsibility while they navigated early adulthood together. However, the foundation of their relationship was always tied to external pressures, including financial uncertainty, and the need to constantly rebuild stability. While they appeared to function as a strong unit, underlying tensions existed due to past experiences, financial stress, and the challenge of balancing ambition with security. Even before fame entered their lives, they were already learning how fragile long-term stability could be when built under pressure. Financial collapse and the shift toward storage auctions. Like many individuals affected by the housing market downturn in the mid-2000s, Jarrod Schulz experienced a major financial setback when his mortgage-related business collapsed. What once appeared to be a promising career path quickly disappeared as the broader economy shifted, leaving him without the income stream he had relied on to support his growing family. This moment marked another reinvention point, forcing him to reassess how he could generate income in a rapidly changing environment. It was during this period of uncertainty that a suggestion from a family connection introduced him to storage auctions, a niche but potentially profitable market. Initially, it was not a glamorous opportunity, but it represented a chance to rebuild financial stability using available resources. This pivot became the foundation for his eventual entry into reality television. Storage auctions required risk-taking, intuition, and negotiation skills, all of which he developed quickly. While the transition was born out of necessity, it also aligned with his competitive personality and willingness to take chances. This unexpected career shift would ultimately open doors that neither he nor Brandi could have predicted at the time. Rise to fame through storage auctions and television success. The introduction of storage auctions to a broader audience came through the reality television series that documented bidders competing for abandoned units, where Jarrod Schulz and Brandi Passante became standout personalities. Known collectively as the Young Guns, they quickly gained attention for their dynamic energy, competitive spirit, and relatable financial struggles. Unlike some of their more seasoned competitors, they represented a more grounded, working-class perspective that resonated with viewers. Their presence helped shape the emotional tone of the show, blending humor, tension, and partnership. As viewership grew into the millions, Jarrod transitioned from relative obscurity into public recognition, earning significant income per episode and gaining access to a lifestyle he had never previously experienced. At its peak, their popularity led to a spin-off series that focused on their personal and professional lives, further expanding their visibility. For Jarrod, this era represented validation of his ability to rebuild and succeed despite his past. However, fame also introduced new pressures, including public scrutiny, financial expectations, and the challenge of maintaining authenticity while performing for television audiences. The success that once felt like redemption would later reveal its own set of complications: business ventures, pressure, and the cracks beneath success. With increased fame came attempts to build long-term financial independence through business ventures, including thrift store operations intended to capitalize on their public profile. Initially, these businesses appeared promising, especially given the exposure provided by television. However, sustaining retail operations proved far more difficult than anticipated. Despite strong visibility, the stores struggled with profitability, leading to closures over time. These setbacks mirrored earlier experiences in Jarrod Schulz's life, where promising ventures collapsed under external pressure or shifting conditions. While television provided a steady income, it did not guarantee long-term stability, and the reliance on network contracts created additional uncertainty. As professional pressures increased, so did personal stress, gradually affecting the dynamics between Jarrod and Brandi. The overlap between business failure and relationship strain became more pronounced, revealing deeper incompatibilities in how they navigated conflict and responsibility. What had once appeared to be a unified partnership began to show signs of fragmentation, especially as financial expectations clashed with personal dissatisfaction. These pressures built quietly but persistently, setting the stage for eventual separation and the end of a long-term partnership. After nearly 2 decades together, the relationship between Jarrod Schulz and Brandi Passante ultimately came to an end, though the transition was not immediately made public. When news of their separation became known, it revealed that they had already been living separate lives for some time, while continuing to work together professionally. This arrangement reflected both necessity and residual connection, as their careers and public identities remained intertwined. However, the emotional distance between them had grown significantly, influenced by years of stress, parenting responsibilities, and unresolved tension. Brandi later described the experience as one in which she had often carried a disproportionate share of parenting responsibilities, even during their time together. The separation marked not only the end of a romantic relationship, but also the dissolution of a long-standing partnership that had shaped much of their adult lives. Their children, now older, became part of a new family structure that required adjustment from all sides. For Jarrod, the loss extended beyond personal relationships, affecting his sense of identity and stability at a time when other aspects of his life were already under strain. Public incident and legal consequences. In the years following the separation, Jarrod Schulz became involved in a public incident that drew legal attention and renewed scrutiny of his behavior. An encounter at a bar in Orange County escalated into a confrontation involving Brandi Passante, where reports indicated that a verbal disagreement turned physical. Allegations emerged that he pushed Brandi during the altercation, leading to police involvement and later misdemeanor domestic violence charges. While he denied the allegations, the incident contributed to broader concerns about behavioral patterns that appeared to resurface under stress. The situation carried significant consequences, both legally and professionally, as it coincided with increasing uncertainty about his role in television programming. Public perception shifted sharply, as earlier narratives of redemption were replaced by renewed criticism and concern. The incident also marked a turning point in how networks and audiences viewed his presence on screen, especially given the contrast between his earlier quote-unquote reformed image and the allegations now associated with him. This moment became a defining factor in the trajectory of his public career, disappearance from television, and life beyond fame. Following the controversy and its aftermath, Jarrod Schulz gradually disappeared from television appearances, effectively ending his long-standing association with the show that had defined his public identity. While episodes filmed earlier still aired, his presence was no longer part of new seasons, signaling a clear shift in direction. This departure marked the end of a major chapter in his life, as the role of quote-unquote young gun and television personality had provided both income and recognition for years. Without it, he transitioned into a quieter lifestyle, focusing on running a bar in Southern California and maintaining a lower public profile. In his personal life, he entered a new relationship, though it existed under the shadow of his recent legal issues. For someone who had once been widely recognized on television, the contrast was stark. The attention that once brought fame and opportunity now carried judgment and scrutiny. His children, now adults, grew up witnessing both the rise and fall of their family's public life, adding another layer of complexity to his personal narrative. Reflection on a life defined by cycles of change and return, Jarrod Schulz's journey ultimately reflects a pattern of transformation followed by recurrence, where moments of success coexist with unresolved personal struggles. From early legal trouble to television fame and eventual public controversy, his life illustrates how change is not always permanent when underlying issues remain unaddressed. While he achieved financial success, built a family, and became a recognizable figure in entertainment, those accomplishments existed alongside recurring instability. The contrast between who he became and the challenges he continued to face highlights the complexity of long-term personal change. His story is not simply one of downfall or redemption, but of both occurring simultaneously in different forms. It raises broader questions about identity, accountability, and whether people can fully escape patterns established early in life. In the end, Jarrod Schulz's life remains a mixture of achievement and consequence, shaped by choices, circumstances, and the persistent tension between reinvention and return. Top of form, bottom of form.